Okay. Did that help? Okay. All right. Try one more time. Okay. How about that? That's the weirdest thing. Ah, there we go. Hi, everybody. Oh, thanks for we're at the new moon, so no time like the present. Even if you're in the middle of something you thought you already knew what was going on and you have to stop and reboot, well, that's what you got to do. So, uh, so for those of you who don't really know who I am, I'm a spiritualist, and I was born into being psychic and empathic. And my whole life, I've had this ultra awareness of the multidimensional spiritual world, and uh, all different levels, from the darkest, most dense experiences to the most profoundly light, bright, and awe-inspiring aspects of the spiritual world. So uh, I have written 3 books, and I speak on the topics that I write about. One of the things I think that people have the biggest, most difficult problem is really accepting those things in themselves that they are nurtured from a very early age to think are bad or ugly or inappropriate, or that they should hide or diminish, or repress. So when all of these functions that we have as human beings are necessary for our development, for our growth, for our well-being on every level. And so if we have learned at some point that we must hide them or disassociate from them, it creates a problem when we get to the place where that little cog in the wheel needs to be removed and shifted so that the forward motion can continue. And that's what I want to talk to you about today: how fear impacts delusional thinking. And I'm not really talking about from a psychological standpoint, although, uh, of course, there is a whole psychological uh, understanding and meaning to what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about it from a very organic, creative perspective. Delusional thinking is a part of our uh, spiritual slash creative process. Um, when we are in the process, if anybody out there is an artist or musician or writer, creator of any sort, builder, there's a part in the process when you begin to imagine what you are building. You begin to imagine it in the physical world. You dream about it. You focus on it. You see it. It becomes. Uh, it becomes real. The energy around it becomes denser. It is the beginning of the path of the actual circumstances that will raise up in your field in the physical world, that will show you the process it takes to actually create the thing that you are thinking about. And when when we apply this creative process to our ideology, to our belief or illusion of somebody's greatness or their uh, badness, their evil, their uh, I can't come up with the words that I I want to describe it. But when we put this on a person, a people, a culture, it connects to our personal story and whatever energy we may have in belief systems around that thing. So if there's something that causes fear for us, or there's something that we don't know, and oftentimes there's what we don't know, right? So there's multiple levels of the things that we're attracted to, that our spirit brings us into the circle with, that our conscious mind isn't familiar and isn't really necessarily consciously prepared to receive that information easily. So that's when we gain our delusional thinking. And we have been seeing a lot of delusional thinking and cult-like thinking in the last 4 years. We've seen a lot of it, and we've seen it over time and space. There's 1,000 situations we can look in the news, or you can look at your friends and family, because it's a phase of spiritual development that people are learning to recognize the deeper, more dense aspects of themselves, understand their purpose, and then begin to transform them to a usable source, if you will. That's why people do it. That's the spiritual process that everybody will, at some point in some lifetime, go through the process of delusional thinking, where we're imagining what could happen in our life, and then we take whatever fear or belief we have on it, and we imagine it, and then it shows us what that is. So I want to read you something from my book, Conquer Your Karmic Relationships. Heal spiritual trauma to open your heart and restore your soul. The first thing, this is from part 4, Mastery. And mastery is your karmic relationship to authority, fear, hate, and death. And so I want to read you just a little bit here. Without entering into a discussion about justice, I don't believe humans are inherently evil. They are at times dense, delusional, vengeful, and open to demonic support. It is the force of the darkness that wields an inhuman chaos that causes destruction. However, human beings are culpable for any action they take, as they have choice, consciously or unconsciously, to allow the spiritual support the dark entities provide. For me, hate isn't a word that I use often, because to hate anything keeps it attached to you. Your hate becomes a contract to work out the miserable relationship between you and the thing you hate. If you have a passionate dislike of something, try to look to find a peaceful resolution of the issue so that you can let go of whatever it is completely. If you hate, that which you hate stays with you. Okay? So I know I talk about demonic energy and dark energy support, but there really is a whole other spiritual world. And when we talk about dark energy, we really mean that there are otherworldly entities, and there are other cosmic energy, spiritual energy that is never incarnated in a soul, in a body. It's not incarnated. And that's really what we call a demon. And a demonic energy can have a nature of greed, gluttony, fear, chaos. And they are all made of universal life force. And that universal life force all contains light. Okay? So one of the things that we're seeing is that there are these energies out there. And if you are a person who has a belief system, and for most of your life, you've been pretty balanced in that belief system, or never really had to have your belief system challenged by your outside circumstances. What's happening now is that millions of people are having their personal belief systems challenged by their outside circumstances. And these outside circumstances, they cannot control them. And so when we have that gap, I call it a gap, because it's every time, again, when we talk about hate, when you have an attachment to something, that attachment is your contract to work through your bad relationship with it, or your negative or attached relationship. I called it your miserable relationship, because oftentimes it is deeply miserable. Okay, what do you say, Melanie? If you hate, that which you hate stays with you. Yes. So when you have that kind of relationship and you are beginning to learn or face that fear, that thing you hate, understand why you are attached to it, understand what it is and why you're connecting to it and what brings you pause with it, that gap creates a space where a spiritual entity or spiritual energy, someone else's anger, fear, or frustration, can connect to you and support and sometimes change your perspective on what's happening. And this literally can change your vision of what is happening. I call it your delusional vision. So let me, now I want to move on to the next. Oh, hmm. Hold one moment, please. Okay. I want to move on to this next page where I talk about the warrior's hidden motto is what I don't understand will hurt me. One of the ways we seek to understand information or attract to us new information is by staking a claim. And that is a mental and emotional, heartfelt claim of, I don't know what that is, therefore it's bad, right? It's an automatic, unconscious stopgap that makes you stop in its presence so that you can get enough information. Maybe you can explore it, find out bits and pieces. And the more you begin to understand something, the less fear you have of it. Therefore, it creates a forward movement through it. Okay. And I want to talk about paranoia because there's a whole, I know this is a deep topic. I don't know that we can cover all of this in 30 minutes, but it's really important. Actually, I'm going to skip paranoia. I'm going to move straight to the antidote to that thing, to understanding delusional vision is viewing the world with an open heart. So I'm going to read you that section. It's page 181 of part 4 of Mastery of Conquer Your Karmic Relationships. The Slayer's dilemma is to begin reading subtle vibrations with an open heart. And by an open heart, I mean without expectation. Truly being open to see what is actually happening or what is really being said, rather than what you're afraid is happening or being said. The truth is, fear can ignite your delusional vision, which is a creative state of mind that forms a bridge from your fear to your experience or the event you are witnessing in real time. This may give you a perspective that is closer to what you fear than reality. We see it happening more and more today, as in the story of a white woman who was sure that a young black man had grabbed her bottom at a local store, so she called the police. Upon their arrival, everyone looked at the store's security footage, and it was clear that as the young man passed her, his backpack touched her, not the boy. He was oblivious to the whole event. The woman's fear created a reality in her mind using her delusional vision. An experience such as this can be further ignited for others when someone who has a fear misinterprets a situation and communicates it to those who have been victimized or systematically disrespected in some way. And are they themselves fearful or angry at it happening again? It is through the energy of a delusional vision that one makes the leap to reacting to things that have not yet happened, to the fear they might happen. Our willingness to see people or events as they are, good, bad, or indifferent, empowers us to address them with honesty and compassion. This is the antidote to fear. Okay. Anybody have questions? Because this is a deep topic, and it's something that, like I said, it's a part of the creative state that we are all intended to use to transform and manage ourselves, to experience all that this life has to offer us on every level. And our denser experiences, when we experience things like anger and grief and hatred, when we experience those things, it's meant to bring us more deeply into ourselves, into a deeper level of acceptance. So Stephen says, so how do we help others approach their fear and thusly their delusions? Well, when somebody is truly, and when I use delusional vision, I'm not talking to somebody who is having a psychotic break or is psychotic in any way. I'm not really talking about that level. When somebody, it's the same energy, but when somebody is psychotic, they actually have a brain chemical that keeps them in this particular state of mind all the time. Right? And that's something that is in psychology, or psychiatry, we diagnose that. And so this is talking about a phase of our creative process that we use to embody things in order to understand them more deeply. So, how do you help others? When someone is having a delusional vision, they believe it. It's real to them. And so you telling them that they're wrong or uh, it's bad or uh, that they're stupid, that they're crazy, right? They're being dramatic, right? There's a lot of terms that we use easily in our culture when we see somebody who's not necessarily connected to the same reality that we are. So your goal is to, in a gentle way, find out where they're at, ask what are they afraid of, and when you get them to honor what they're afraid of, then you can get more deeply into why they're afraid of that. And when someone acknowledges those two elements of themselves, they're going to be able to see any situation, even in retrospect, with a clearer vision. They're going to better understand why they thought what they thought at the time and why it felt and seemed so real to them. And that's the most important thing. If somebody is delusional and they are violent and delusional, that's a whole other thing. And your goal is, again, not to confront the delusion, but get them to use their intuitive mind or their right brain, intuitive sense, to connect to something else that takes them on a different path so that they can eventually get to the place where they no longer need to continue forward in a violent action or a violent way or a violent belief system, right? But everybody connects to these things that they do for an internal reason. And often it is because they have been victimized in some way or they are suffering. There are a lot of people on the planet right now who they may not have a life today where they have been victimized, but they have past life memory that is ungrieved of being victimized. That's happening a lot. And so, especially, in today's political climate, your goal isn't to confront people and tell them that they're wrong. Your goal is to dig in and say, okay, wow. Okay, so tell me what you believe and why. Where does that come from? How do you feel? How does that belief serve you? What do you get from believing that? Does that belief empower you? Does it make you feel stronger to connect with a certain group of people or a certain ideology? And if so, why do you feel weaker in the first place? Right? There's always, at the end of the day, it's always pointing back to somebody in their own broken heart. But it's true. We all have a broken heart about something. Some things are obvious and we make them obvious to you, and then other things are deeply hidden. And make no mistake, those things that are deeply hidden today are being revealed by circumstances outside of us that we cannot control. Boom. That is what is happening right now. Everyone is living in a global pandemic. They're living in a time where there are circumstances outside of them they cannot control. And they are going to try to seek control any way that they can. The quickest path to enlightenment, and it's so interesting when you talk about enlightenment, because I always thought that word was a very arrogant word. Oh, I'm so enlightened. But then I really thought about it, and really what happened to me is, for all of these years, I had to witness this darkness. I had to witness it in myself. I had to witness many past lives of deep-seated darkness. And then when you see darkness in yourself, you see it in everyone. And seeing the darkness it's a profound thing to do every single day, every minute of every day. And there came a time that the more I worked through my own darkness and transformed my own relationship to those things and began to really accept myself on all levels, allowing me to grieve and let go of past trauma and open up to a whole new way of perceiving and living, finally, what happened is literally this burden, it felt like a burden on me that I was always working through. It lifted one day. And it literally, from one day to the next, I felt like a whole new person. I mean, I was still me, but this burden that had always befallen me had been lifted. And that's when I understood that enlightenment isn't about knowing more or being better. It is literally releasing the burden. And the only way to release the burden is to face it, address it, talk to it, understand how it exists for you, in you, with you, and then transform it. Grieve it. Oftentimes we have pain that we don't allow ourselves to process because sometimes our culture tells us that we're weak if we do that. The truth is, we are never weak. The more we grieve, the more we create a spiritual resilience that allows us to transform our vision of everyday situations and to see them positively. And when I say positively, that means with an automatic sense of being able to move forward in spite of the obstacles we see. So Holly says, so people are tearing down the world with their broken hearts. Yes, yes, they are. Yes, yes, they are. There's nothing else to say. That was a beautifully spoken. People are tearing down the world with their broken hearts. And the difference is when you can understand that about people, especially the ones that are violent or hateful or frustrating as hell because they're not rational and you can't connect to them because you don't share a reality with them. If you will understand that somewhere deep in the recesses, that heart is broken and you can acknowledge that, that's your ticket in. That's the way that you can connect. And if you can connect to them, they will connect to you. And that alone, that connection is the way we all become enlightened. We all are able to work through our burdens. So that's what I got for you today. Does anybody else have it seems like a perfect way place to stop. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions while I wrap it up? I do want to tell you, of course, you can get this at any bookstore. I always love it when you support small, but anywhere where you can get the book. I know a lot of people aren't leaving their houses today and stuff, so you need to get it online. So you can do that anywhere. Conquer Your Karmic Relationships. But also, the Demon Slayer's Handbook series, it's the series where Conquer Your Karmic Relationships is the third book. And there are two other books, Master Your Inner World and Heal Your Soul History. And this is my 5-year anniversary box set. And the only place you can get it is from me. You can go to TraceeDunblazier.com and just write me a little note and I will contact you and I'm working out some website kinks. So as soon as that gets completed, it'll be easy just to order it online. But right now you've got to send me a little email if you're interested. Melanie says, I've been thinking lately about how our ancestors must have lived through the pandemic of 1918. Yes, it's a powerful thing because people, I do believe, because we have so many more people on the planet and so much more light and consciousness and open-heartedness per capita that it's pretty deep. Because when people are in a fearful state and everybody's being influenced and there isn't the knowledge that we have today, people are mean. People are mean. So yeah, it was deep. It was deep back then and it's deep now. And Katharina, thank you for joining us today. Okay, well, this has been an absolute pleasure as always. I do also want to let you know that starting in February, I have a membership section on my website where you can now join me for 75 minutes a week. It's also going to be on Fridays. It's going to be Friday after this call, Friday at 1 p.m. Via Zoom. You can register on my website and become a member, and you can do monthly, quarterly, or yearly, and join me every week for a 75-minute call on Zoom. And then you also have access to that, and also discounts for other classes that I have, um, discounts on product, that kind of thing. So just want to put that out there. And again, uh, Steven says he's ready now for the roaring 20s. I know that's right. Anyway, thanks again, everyone, for joining me today. This has been Tracee Dunblazier, and have a magnificent weekend.